This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN Network, and we are the proud media sponsor for the upcoming Precious Metal Summit, which is going virtual in September 2020. And I'm pleased to introduce my guest today. It is Paul West-Sells. He is the president and CEO of Western Copper and Gold. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you. Well, it's actually one symbol on two exchanges. WRN on the TSX and WRN on the NYSE American. Paul, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
Really good. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. So let's start with a very quick overview and history of the company, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty.
Sounds good. Western Copper and Gold has one asset, which is the Casino Copper Gold Mine located up in the Yukon in Canada. We've been developing it for about 12 years. We actually just announced a new resource there, 21 million ounces of gold, 11 billion pounds of copper. I mean, the thing is just a monster. We've got a feasibility study on it. We're doing a little bit more drilling this year. And the goal is to roll that into an updated feasibility study next year and then back into permitting.
All right. And Paul, what would you say makes the company unique and different compared to some of your peers out there?
Well, I mean, first of all, is size. I mean, when we look at the Casino project, and previous to this, we had 18 million ounces of gold. That is a top 10 undeveloped junior controlled gold asset. Now with 21, I'm not sure where that puts us, but we're top 8 or top 5 or something like that. So can't overemphasize that. The other thing is that we're a true copper gold. If you look at the projected revenue from the project right now, it's almost exactly 50-50. So it works really, really well. When copper is high and usually gold is low, we do well. When gold is high and usually copper is low, we do well. And then you have magical situations like right now where gold is high and copper is high, share price does well, shareholders are happy.
So you bring up an interesting question, this idea of a true copper gold project, because most gold companies that I talk to, they're gold companies and they got some, there's a little bit of copper there too, So what exactly does that mean that now that there's this true copper and gold project where you're located?
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. I mean, I used to always laugh. I started my career with Placer Dome, and they had the big Zaldivar mine, and you'd had to hunt for that, but it was a pretty significant part of their revenue. Yeah, and most gold companies, particularly the large ones, like to have a little bit of copper in their portfolio because it is counter-cyclical to the gold price. Point one, and then point two, if you look at really the big gold deposits in the world, they tend to be copper gold deposits. Think of Grasberg as a perfect example. One, I think it's a top, 2 or 3 gold producer in the world. It's actually a copper gold mine. So that's where you get big gold production, big ounces, hence what we have.
So then where are we at currently then in development? You said you're going to be doing some drilling a little bit later this year. If this deposit's as big as it says, I mean, what's the time then to getting the mill in there and start, taking some of the stuff out of the ground?
Yeah. So so the drilling's underway right now. We started our drilling program, in the middle of COVID, which was a challenge, but we got it underway. So that's about half done right now. The goal is we have a feasibility study. Based on that feasibility study, the project looks absolutely stellar. I mean, at spot prices, we're an over 30% IRR, 3 billion plus net present value. But that is dated. We have a bunch of new drilling. We've got a new resource. So we'll update the feasibility study next year is the plan. Probably kick that off before the end of this year. And then that will roll into getting back into the permitting. Probably take us a couple years to get it permitted after that and then into construction.
You bring up an interesting point. At what point do you have to, as the CEO, do you ask yourself, okay, NPV is here, let's stop drilling and let's go. Let's get the permitting going. Or you know what? I think there's more. We can add more to our NPV. Let's keep drilling to build that up because that way it might make the mine even more economic. How do you balance that equation in your head?
Well, that's a great question. So the story of our drilling program is actually pretty neat. So last year we said let's update the feasibility study, but let's do a little bit of drilling, a little bit of infill drilling. Sort of boring, just, it ended up in the new resource. But when we did the drilling last year, what we found is a couple of things, the key thing being a high-grade gold zone in the South River deposit. How high grade? 55 gram per ton was one of the intercepts. And this is in a large, comparatively low-grade porphyry. So, I mean, you hit grades like that, you need to follow that up. So that's what we're doing this year. We're following that up, trying to put that together. So within this large, low-grade copper gold porphyry system that we have, what it looks like we've got is actually this really nice high-grade system as well. And so hopefully we get that defined. That rolls into the updated feasibility study, and we end up with, maybe a sort of two-stage project.
And you alluded to this a little bit earlier, but what's your background? Do you have experience in similar projects like this?
Yeah, I mean, well, I talked about Placer Dome. I actually spent some time at Zaldivar, so that I cut my teeth there. Yeah, my background is actually, I'm a metallurgist by background, and worked in project development while I was at Placer, and then sort of came over into Western, and started off as the metallurgist, and now I'm the CEO. So sort of how it works. That's the joy of the small mining companies, right?
I was gonna say, like, you just keep climbing that ladder, and then you find a project. You're like, okay, no, we'll bring him in. He's got this. He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So with that, what would you say, from what you can tell us? And you've already talked about this a little bit, but I figured we kind of wrap it up.
Okay.
What would you say are the 1 to 2 things that investors should look for from the company in the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing was the new resource. That of course is last week, so that's behind us. The next thing really to look for is some drill results. I mean, the drilling programs have done. The assays are just starting to trickle in. I think I've had one set come through, so nothing really significant yet. But and that's the delineation of that high grade gold. The other thing I didn't really talk about, but we also acquired this project to the west of us, big land package. We're drilling there as well. Pretty much untested ground. So I mean, virgin territory. We're going to see what's there. It could be quite exciting. So that's sort of the next 3 months. Next 6 months, launching that updated feasibility study. Probably, let's say closer to 9 to 12 months, have a full updated feasibility study published. And then the other thing is we're talking to lots of potential partners. I mean, this is a big project. We've always said that the best way to move it forward is to bring in somebody to sort of help us out with that. And so we'll see where that goes. There's lots of conversations on that. Certainly in the current copper and gold environment, 21 million ounces of gold, 11 billion pounds of copper is exciting for gold.
For sure. So with that, where can my audience go and find everything they need to know about Western Copper and Gold?
Yeah, so it's www.westerncopperandgold. Pretty simple. A lot of typing, but easy to get to.
And that's westerncopperandgold.com.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, with that, Paul, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Stay safe. Good luck. And I look forward to our next update.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. My name again is Robert Kraft. I'm your host for SNN Network, and we are the proud media sponsor for the upcoming Precious Metals Summit, which is going virtual in September 2020. Look forward to seeing you there. And again, Paul, thank you.
Thank you very much.